welcome, everybody. Music therapy. Laz here. Hope you guys can hear me. Late start. It was a brutal week this week, if I might. I'm going to give myself an applause for surviving this week. Let me change this angle a little bit more. How's that? Get those boxes. Unless you guys want to see the boxes that I'm trying to get packaged up anyway. A little bit of moving of the camera there. We do have people slowly slipping into the show here. We got Ron Gunner. He's on the road. He's on the road to the middle of Cleveland, is what he told me. Let me know if you guys can hear me clearly. I still haven't hooked up the. Let me get this thing adjusted again. There we go. Get it a little stiffer. Stifler. It was a rough week for the Laz this week. I don't normally go into the city for work every day in the row. And if you live in the Bay Area, if you've ever been to the Bay Area like Lucas has, or Lucas, what am I saying Lucas? Because I see the L and the M, and I first say Lucas. Martin has. Oh my God, Martin, of course, has been in the Bay Area. And we went hiking in the woods. That was a cool hike, right? Loud and clear, says Lucas. Martin. My God. Let me hit that. So I'm a little bit out of it in a sense. My back is killing me because sitting in traffic one day, it was nearly 3 hours. It was actually a little bit more than 3 hours, one direction, because there was rain. And oh my God, California, oh, we got rain. Can't drive now. Everyone's accidents all over the place. What's up, Charles? Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I got to have you on the show someday and talk to you pick your brain about some of the sides of music therapy, music as therapy, right? I mean, you're doing a really great show where you interview a lot of people and talk about their musical journey, right? And what it is to them to be on this, whether it's a guitar safari journey, some gas related stuff like this. I listened for that for a while, and I finally pulled the trigger on one. There we go. See, I still haven't gotten the direct line hooked up in here. This week was brutal, like I was saying, pretty much from the moment I woke up to quickly grab a breakfast sandwich that I make on the road and go. And every day was like bam, 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 like that. Monday was the only day that kind of turned out to be different, but it was a wasted half of a day because of a problem that occurred with some of the material I received. Had to have an exchange made for some of the material so I could get the job done. So wasted a half day going in and out of the city to find out that it's not the right material that's there. So had to do some running around and all that. And that's part of the business. When you're an independent contractor, you do have to deal with these things. For the most part, I arrange for all of that for myself, so I don't have to ever worry about that. But sometimes they want to get the hardware, they want to get some things, and you're like, okay, I charged them for it, but it was still like a wasted half a day for me. So I met up with Johnny Bean that day for a brief moment, right? And yeah, oh, there's somebody popping in. Speak of the devil, there he is. Do we have audio?
Hey, I'm about to drive, so I'm going to hit mute.
You and Ron. Everybody's driving today. Well, drive safe, my friend. Where are you off to?
I'm leaving the store, and I'm going to head down Route 66.
Route 66, Johnny.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I guess you could call it Route too, but it's just like the 66. If you're down in the SoCal area, you would call it the 66.
I am in SoCal.
You're not really. Oops, what happened? I just accidentally hit the button. Are you in SoCal?
I'm in SoCal. This town is called SoCal.
Oh, that's right, huh? Oh my God.
So I'm just going to drive a little bit. I'll
all right.
You don't have to hear it, but
yeah, the road noise. It looks nice and sunny out there in SoCal.
Oh, very nice.
It's a nice town. Well, enjoy the drive. I'm going to talk about nostalgia. Remember, we were talking a little bit about this in one of your shows. I called in, and then we'd spoken a bit about this in the past, but I wanted to go more in depth on how specifically music that is nostalgic music, why it's so unique and how it affects the brain. And or as we get older, we tend to listen to more nostalgic music. In other words, we like to listen to the music that we grew up on rather than new stuff, right? We were talking a bit about how, oh, nobody likes new music, sucks,
Dude,
but all the young people are listening to the
you
new music because that's their music,
you
right?
know what? For me, it's the total opposite, man.
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
sick to death of old music. So many times. I'd rather now. So I'm the total opposite.
That's cool. That's great because I enjoy, like you, we have that very much in common, that we very much enjoy all different types of music. So we like a lot. There you go. The life of a showgirl.
I'm not kidding. I don't lie, you guys. I listened to this, just came out 2 days ago, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like listening
Right
to stuff. I'm always,
I'll grab an album. Keep talking.
I mean, I like say I was in like the store and it's on like an 80s, playlist or whatever. And I actually get bummed out because I'm like, dude, I've heard this so many times. I don't want to hear this again. So, but
I just dropped the album behind my amps that I wanted to grab.
Feeling comfort in listening to stuff that I get it. I understand that, and I do that too. But myself, as a musician, I'd rather listen to new stuff to get new ideas, because you can't get new ideas off old stuff. I mean, if it's new for you, you can, but you know what I mean?
Oh, totally. I mean, I was listening to Beato talking about Robin Trower. He was in the Atlanta area, I guess, on his tour, and Rick Beato had him in there, and he talked quite a bit about
my friend Beato, that's coming out on Guitar Player.
Right on. Yeah, I can understand that. He's quite happy not having to drive him in traffic anymore. Best part of retirement, right? Unless you have to run an errand. But Ron Gunner is watching, he says. Right on, Ron. I sent him a link. I sent Brent and Alex a link, figuring you guys would be busy. Yeah, Charles, you rock, dude. And I even sent one to my friend Martin to see if he might be able to. This is dinner time, though, for him in Austria. And I accidentally, when I first put the show together, I had 10 p.m. I didn't switch it to a.m. So he's like, that's like 7 in the morning for me. I can't do that. That's funny. Yeah. Chatting with Charles. That's right. Yeah. Right on. Charles Raid. All right. We got the Charles Raid going on. Thank you very much, Charles. The Charles Raid. So as people slowly slip in here, we'll get into this new music thing. But like a lot of people haven't heard of the band that I'm really into lately, and other music. I like to listen to a lot of new music as well. Right now, one of my favorite guitar players out there is this young buck, Chris Buck, whose amp I bought. That's over there. He bought that in New York at some shop. It's a special one. It's a nice sounding, reverb, deluxe reverb. Something I've been jonesing after for a while now, getting one of those as a studio amp, But yeah, I know you do, man. You rock, dude. Charles is always sending people over. Right on, man. Blackjack Guitar, he was probably in there, right? There you go. Yeah, I'll have to watch that one afterwards, right? And Greasy Monkey, dude, you rock. So as people are popping in here, the topic is nostalgic music. And what is it about nostalgic music that's so good? So why is nostalgic music such a positive effect on not just the brain but our lives, right? So when you think about it, just like what Johnny does, he does a lot of Van Halen stuff. He does a lot of stuff that talks about an old band, that's not around anymore. But people still love the music, and they love to listen to it, and it reminds them of their youth or whatever it does for them, right? It's one of those things where they get together and socialize around that music, and there are connections, similar memories that they share around that music. And these are ways that nostalgic music will affect you that new music won't, right? New music will be more about that moment, and it's more about in the now, and then thoughts about in the future. But to me, Robin Trower, I've heard his music before. They always give you a poster at the Fillmore. So when I saw them at the Fillmore, him and his band, of course, he talked with Beato about that time when he was coming up as a guitarist. He was one of these self-taught kind of guys as well, and really got into the blues and the sounds that Jimi Hendrix was creating using all those effects back then that were brand new. Effects weren't that big of a thing. Basically, guitar was plug into an amp and bang, bang, na, 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 oh yeah, and that was it. And it was a way simpler thing. I think maybe in keyboard land there was more like modulation and difference in sounds, and then some people started using those same types of speaker cabinets, Leslie's, like they use for Hammonds. Because if you know about Hammonds, they were used a lot in America in churches, because they didn't have the big giant churches with the big pipe organs like you see in Europe. They had the electrically controlled electronic organs going through a speaker, and you'd use like a Leslie speaker, for example, and then the way those things work with it spinning, you can get that spinning wah, 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 and distorted sound and all this stuff too when they up that distort. So that brought a completely different sound to rock and roll in the organ side of things. You listen to the Doors, like Ray Manzarek's playing and people like that back then, and then you get into some other bands like Deep Purple, and others who were classically trained. Some of these people are classical or jazz musicians that were highly trained musicians, and using those same, hey, what's up, welcome to the show, dude. Bridezell. Is that like kind of Bridezilla or Bridezell? It's like a gazelle but a bride, or Bridezell. I don't know what that is, but explain yourself. It would be nice to know. So but the nostalgic side of things is like what he was talking about in the Beato show, right? Robin Trower, about how at his ripe age of 80 something years old, 80, right? And I think you saw Andy Summers. He's 83 now, and they go all the way back to the 60s and before, even like early 60s. Robin was talking about recording at the same time the Beatles were first recording, so they were hanging around the same clubs and the same places. So the memories that, hey, what's up, Roadies Jam Cave, Ian also here from Indy, what's up? These people, they were there, right, Johnny? They were there when this stuff was just starting out. This rock and roll thing came from the blues, and Robin talked quite a bit about the blues and how jazz evolved from the blues, and then you have which all came from Africa. I don't know if you know this, Johnny, but the blues music was African music that slaves and plantations would use the music to motivate them to get through the day more easily. They'd sing songs to help them get through it. And so the blues music, jazz music, and then rock and roll, what you were talking about with like Swifties and everything, like how music is always evolving, constantly changing. And yeah, there might be, you could call it in the classical sense, in the Western classical music sense, 12 notes, but there's really much more than 12 notes. We bend and we slide and we whammy and we make noises that have nothing to do with the note, right? So there's different ways to affect the notes.
Those are called like not harmonics, the other harmonics.
Well, there's subharmonics that you can get with different kinds of amp sounds. That's another thing. People go crazy over different kinds of amps and different effects and everything from different forms of distortion of sound, right? So there's not just 12 notes. We're talking about frequencies that are
like
right.
There's steps, half steps, blah blah blah.
Yeah, blah blah blah. You can add some blah blah blah.
So much crap. See, that's
Crap.
the trick. That's the trick, is to find your own voice and become
Right.
to do your own thing, because it's what's impossible is to do your own thing. Everybody, you grow up on something, you want to do that.
And you're thinking of it in a commercial sense, though. So I'm going to bring a different direction here, where you're talking about music in its commercial aspect of how it's created industry-wise, bought, sold to the public, right? And how people, the public, then absorb that, or experience that music. Whether I like experiencing music live as often as I can, because I think that's the truest sense of it, right? Then there's like the recorded version of it. Go ahead. Oh,
I got
he's got to go for a second. He's being pulled over right now. I wish I had a siren sound on one of these buttons. I don't. That would be great. I have the closest thing I have is this.
Over.
Anyway. Shame on me, says I'll let him go. What's going on? What's the shame here? We don't have any shaming here. Oops, jumped on me. Wasn't able to catch much of your stuff lately. Lots of work, but I always enjoy it whenever I do. I think he's talking about Rhodey stuff, probably. Yeah. Me too, Rhodey. I'm sorry I don't catch as much of your videos and other people's videos. Yeah, it is what it is. We only have so much time, and a lot of times I want to watch the videos, not just listen to them. And most of the time, I only have time to listen. Because I'm either like this whole week. It was a hard job. It was tough work I was doing. But I got through it. My back's feeling it a little bit, right? I got the coconut oil massage earlier. That really helped. I gotta say, thanks, sweetie. So Johnny's kind of here and not here. So until you pop back in, I'm gonna go solo. But I'll try to keep an eye on it. So, but so the nostalgia side of music and how nostalgic music works. Let's get into the science. What do you say? We get into the science. So I put some science notes into the description. I'll just go ahead and read it right from there. What do you guys think? I'll just go right to my show here. Does it show my show? Go to Laz's channel. There it is. Oh, and I used AI, Johnny. I used AI to create my thumbnail because I didn't have time to create one. So they have that new feature in StreamYard where they'll let you do it. Here, I'll bring you back in. Oh, I think people can hear you, can't they? No.
Yeah.
Oh, I muted you. I unmuted you now. They can hear you now. Anyway, well, I can't ask you to wave. So I'll leave you on. It's not that noisy. It's fine. So let me go ahead and read the descripciones here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way. If you're not subscribed, please help me to hit 1,000 this year, and I'll give away a guitar. I keep saying that. Now, we haven't chosen the guitar yet because we thought maybe we'll leave that up to someone to choose it. But maybe when I get back from my trip to Peru, I'll be perusing the bad joke. I'll be perusing the interwebs for the Black Friday deals, especially in the used section. Sometimes you can find something really cool, like a project guitar, like what Johnny and Ron have been working on quite a bit lately. It's really, really cool. You and Bay Area Rich getting together, picking up some cool guitars. Those Tees guitars were cool. All kinds of cool stuff out there. But I picked up that Santana guitar for $399. Man, that thing was unbelievably well priced for that. I thought, was it $299? I think it was $299. It was $300. It was just ridiculously good guitar for that kind of money. No requirement of any upgrades to that at all. Oh, look what this is, the highway that Ron's on out there in Ohio. Yeah, it's not the same as Route 66. It's Route 666. Oh my God, that's too funny. I gotta send him a laugh. But I've lived in Ohio for a little bit. I lived there for about 3.5 years and couldn't wait to get back to California. That's all I have to say. Could not wait. I cried when I crossed the border from Nevada to California, literally. What's up, Dwight? The Hitman, Bailey. That's right. We all know the Hitman, making them hits. Yeah. So stabilization made the video. I've been really that's funny. So yeah, like, oh, is it mine or is it? Yeah, I know. I have to get directly connected again because I think that might solve it. But if it doesn't, then I can totally blame it all on StreamYard forcing me to want to pay them to not have like a jittery video and everything going bad. But back to the nostalgia, the topic here. So nostalgia. What's interesting about how nostalgic music works on the brain and why it's very unique. Oh, I didn't put it in the description yet. Okay, I have to copy paste this in there. So I got my notes. Let me read you my notes. All right, let me go right to that. It's at the top here. So this is AI generated info. Studies have been found. Okay, research shows. Say that 5 times fast. Research shows, I can't, that nostalgic music activates unique networks in the brain related to memory, emotion, and self-reflection, engaging the default mode network, if you know what that means, and we can define that for you if you like, and the reward circuitry in the brain. So this can trigger vivid autographical memories and improve emotional well-being by enhancing feelings of social connection, self-esteem, and meaning in life. The reminiscent bump phenomenon explains why music from our youth is particularly potent, and this research suggests music-evoked nostalgia may serve as a therapeutic tool, and has been proven to, for conditions like memory loss and dementia. Like Ron was saved by music, right? Brought him back. So there are some links in the description. I'm going to go ahead and copy paste this into the description, and then I'll go into some more here. But what do you guys get out of that? So what are your thoughts on that? So in other words, listening to music you grew up on will activate parts of your brain in a way that can affect you emotionally, right? Make you feel good or bad. It can make you happy and sad, right? There can be music that's new that can affect you that way too. You go see a new movie and they have some music and it's either scary or it's moody or it's happy or it's sad. It can make you feel that way at that moment too. But there's a different kind of effect on your brain when it comes to music that you grew up on, because it also involves memories, your own personal memories, and your at the time reactions to certain moments in time, right? And a lot of times that can do a lot of good for your well-being. So it can make you feel, for example, let's say you're an old person living, pretty much alone. You've, empty nest. Maybe your spouse has passed away and you're on your own. You're by yourself. And music like that can trigger moments and memories in your life that can bring you a great deal of joy and remind you of, oh, I remember that buddy of mine, Fred, when we went to that concert and we saw the Who or whatever, and I got to call Fred up, and give him a call and hey, we got to get together. Remember that concert we went to and blah, 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 blah. It was really great to see my mom's very excited reaction to my questions about her experience having seen the Beatles on their very last ever concert tour here at Candlestick Park in the Bay Area, and everything that went around that period in her life and at that time. It brought back all these memories, and you could see her light up and want to talk. Not that she's not lit up anyway. She's usually pretty, excited about life and whatnot. But it was so cool to see her, as I kept plugging, going into deeper kind of questions about that day and other times around that time, what occurred. And it was a very special time in the United States as well as in the world. We were going through quite a bit of change, socially and culturally here in the United States. Civil rights movement was very, it was happening big time. And there were a lot of things going on in the Bay Area here, especially a center point in many ways of that period of time. It wasn't just a hippie era and the hippie generation. By the way, those are the people who brought home computing to you all. I don't know if you realize this, but the Bay Area hipster, or not hipsters, the Bay Area hippie geeks were the ones who found a way to use circuitry to create music and create home computing, so that people, Apple came up out of that, right? And they tried to bring that to the world, because back then only big corporations and like governments can afford, and those kinds of agencies that had a lot of money and budgets could afford those big box, like computers that they had back in the day. Yeah, no worries, man. Drive safe, dude. Johnny Bean had to bail. That's all right. Yeah. um so so that period of her life, when I started asking her about that music and that, I didn't even know that she went to Grateful Dead concerts. She never told me any of this stuff. I knew she always loved rock and roll music, but I never questioned or asked her about, hey, what was that time of your life like when you were a teenager? She said she used to go to these CBS TV station in San Francisco. The local station would have dance hall stuff, and I bet you this happened around a lot of bigger cities, and even small towns too, probably. Unlike Footloose, where they didn't let you have music. Those whole little small towns in middle America, right? Right now, I think we see Ron is driving right through it right now. But yeah, the thing is that there's so much that music can do, that can affect us in a positive way, right? And nostalgic music is unique in that. It's very unique in how it can affect your emotions, your self-esteem, and your outlook on life, and connecting with others. And that's why I love, I have friends of all ages, and part of why I love to go to shows is because you meet up with people of all ages and all different backgrounds. Pardon me, backgrounds and stuff, and I think that's the spice of life, right? All these different things that you can learn about, right? Let's see what the chat has to say here. Hell yeah, dude. Indy says. So Ian of Indy, not Indy, Ian of Indy. So there are some cool links in the description here if you guys want to check some of those out. And there's some like verbiage there that I can read some more if you guys like, about what effect the brain has. I mean, the music has on the brain, and there's a lot of science, that's more and more science is being done on these subjects, because it's so pertinent to, as there are more baby boomers getting to that ripe old age, right? There's more and more research being done about this stuff, because it can definitely help people when it comes to that part in that time in their life. And my dream is to have an old folks home for rockers where it's never going to be quiet. It's going to be made so people can be enjoying their day-to-day twilight years, right? So I just updated the description there with some of that info. Okay, where do I? Okay, there we go. Saved it. So so what are you guys' thoughts on this? I can read some more on this. Save change stream is scheduled in the future. Edit the start time. What? I don't know. StreamYard is so weird lately. I don't know what to say about it. I'll just update it, and I'll update it on YouTube, because I guess in StreamYard I can't do it. I'm going to copy it and I'll put it into the YouTube later. So I'll update it after the show, you guys. But let me read some more. So the neuroscience on this is fascinating, and I've always really found the science of this fascinating. So listening to nostalgic music not only elicits the traditional memory networks of the brain, but it also involves the reward, narrative, and self-processing system of the brain, says USC researcher Asi Habibi. Oh, my battery's dying on my phone. I better plug that in. I think I've got enough juice going to the laptop. So I'm reading this off my phone. Here we go. He directs the USC Dorn-Sif or SIFE Center for Music, Brain, and Society. He says these are the mechanisms in the brain by which we think you can listen to 10 seconds of nostalgic music and it can take you back to something vivid, like your high school prom, right? I right now triggered in my memory the song Forever Young. That was the prom in 1984. The prom main song. That was a slow dance song, right? That was like the song of the year. I think they used that song for years and years in proms, obviously. He says we could use that music as a way of really helping individuals with Alzheimer's disease and other dementias. Then he goes on to say music, movement, and learning. It also affects movement and learning, okay? And we never stop learning. And that's one of the things I also really suggest that people do. Hey, nice to see you here in the chat here, Brian Mersman. Is it Mersman, right? Where are the guests, right? They're all gone today. I invited them, but, you know, it's Sunday morning. Some people got other things to do. And I don't mind doing this solo once in a while. It's kind of nice. I did have Johnny on from his car earlier, if that counts. So music, movement, and learning, understanding how music affects cognition and the brain as an organ, or the twin interests underlying Habibi's work. An associate research professor of psychology at the USC Dorn-Sif College of Letters, Arts, and Sciences, Habibi uses various tools, including neuroimaging and psychometric testing, to measure what environmental factors such as music do to our brains. As founder of the center, Habibi sought to bring together experts from USC Dorn-Sif, the Keck School of Medicine of USC, and the USC Thornton School of Music, and the USC Viterbi School of Engineering to study music and the impact it has on our emotions, movement, and learning. Because, you know, cadence and sound and music can get you moving. Just think about how it affects you when you work. I'm always listening to music while I'm working. It makes my day go by so much faster. You know, I like to listen to podcasts and stuff too and learn, but sometimes it's nice to be able to just focus on your work and listen to some music in the background. And when I got home last night, for example, I put on Om chanting monks just to calm down, bring down the temperature a little bit from the drive and the day, and the chaoticness of the day was not chaotic in a bad way. You know, there's good and bad stress. It was a good stress day. It was very physical. The whole week was a very physical week, outside of the sitting in the car for hours, which was not a great, you know, transition from one to the other. By the time I got home, I really wish I had a hot tub so I could just sit, but I just hot shower. It was really great. But music, you know, and how it works to help you with movement, it's just think about the Rocky movie and the, you know, Eye of the Tiger and the music and everything. The exercising is always to music and stuff. I mean, who goes to the gym and doesn't listen to music when they're at the gym? I can't imagine working out without music. So he talks about how the research center was founded in 2023. So a lot of this is new science, you guys. I mean, it's fascinating how we haven't done more on this earlier on, but definitely we're pursuing these different lines of research, right? Let's see. It talks about how the project explores learning how to play a musical instrument helps foster better cognitive and language skills in the developing child's brain. Now, what's really important about this, guys, if you have any grandchildren or youngsters in your family, if you're young yourself, or if you're an uncle or an auntie or something like that to some other kids, get music in them. In other words, play music in the car that's different, not always just the stuff they like. Play all kinds of different stuff because it's going to light up their brain in different ways, you know. Always the same thing over and over again, not as much learning is going to occur from there. But if you bring more diversity, that's going to really help diversify their brain as well. It's going to help their brain grow in more diverse directions, right? And that can be very, very important. So it can foster cognitive and language skills in the developing child's brain. Done in partnership with the Los Angeles Philharmonic Youth Orchestra program. Their research showed that in the heart of Los Angeles, funded by this Philharmonic and the GROW project, I think by Annenberg Foundation, has also led to new insights into the connection. I thought it was going to be cognitive something, into the connection between music and emotional regulation. So helping you learn how to regulate your thoughts in your brain. And you know how your brain can go crazy on you, right, Johnny? Look at how many things Johnny's just like, bam, bam, bam. His brain's on food right now. Is there a hamburger song, Johnny? There isn't. You got to write it. There's that song "Everybody Wants Some" by Van Halen that was played in the movie Better Off Dead to the hamburger dancing. That was pretty cool. Yeah, they were first called burgers. Okay, probably some German guy came up with it. Burger. I had a hamburger in Germany when I was 12, and it was not like an American hamburger, and it actually sucked pretty bad. It was disgusting. It was not good. It was weird. Okay, what you have? By the way, I have the sound off, so I have no idea what this guy's talking about. Well, right now we're talking about you, Johnny. Well, there you go. I am happy for the most part. All right, it is nice. It is nice. It's about you. All right, so we'll go back into this. So the project on triggering emotions that gets the heart of why music resonates with us so strongly. He goes on to say, our hope is that by understanding how music evokes nostalgia and autobiographical memory in healthy younger and older adults, we'll be able to apply these findings to older adults with neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease and other related dementias. So now he goes on to this topic about unveiling the lost memories. To investigate how nostalgic music could assist people in recalling memory, Habibi and doctoral candidate Sarah Hennessy tapped experts in machine learning, MRI, and psychology to pinpoint what happens in the brain when music unveils a lost memory. And this is fascinating. If you've ever seen fMRI or any of these kind of, new technologies used to see the activity that's going on, the electrical and magnetic resonance activity going on in the brain, they can see, when something is happening because there's a lot of electrical activity there. So different parts of the brain. And they're getting better at mapping, not just different parts of the brain, but also how these things, flow in the brain, the neuropathic pathways, how these things flow and affect each other. So they're saying here, to grade how well a participant could recall a memory, the researchers assigned a value to its vividness, right? She describes it as a formula psychologists use to measure how detailed your perception and sensation of experience are in your description. So, okay, let's read that again. She describes it as a formula psychologists use to measure how, quote, detailed your perception and sensation of experience are in your description. So in the description of what they're seeing occurring on the fMRI or MRI or whatever they're using to measure activity in the brain. So she says vividness measures the amount of detail that goes into your description of a memory. If I just ramble on, I went to the grocery, then did this and did that, that's not really remembering your memory, but just the state of it. But if you have details like remembering that the room was dark, that is a more vivid memory. Yeah, what did it smell like? Was there a lot of noise? What kind of noises? And those things can help trigger those sounds, not just musical sounds, can help trigger your brain's memory. Like smell is a very strong trigger for memory as well. So they said the idea has born two parallel studies from Habibi and Hennessy. The first had two groups of people, 30 younger and 30 older, who gave the researchers a playlist of songs that evoke powerful memories and emotions. The researchers then used an algorithm developed by Hennessy and colleagues at USC Viterbi to find songs very similar to the ones on the self-selected playlist to serve as a control. So similar, but not quite the same, kind of trying to do a double-blind study thing. The participants then entered an MRI scanner to scan their brains as they listened to the nostalgic songs and the control songs, and then completely unfamiliar music. Afterward, the participants were asked to describe memories tied to the nostalgic music, and the researchers assigned a vividness score. Hennessy says the neuroimaging results were amazing. When you hear nostalgic music, there's activity all over your brain. So in all parts of your brain, but most noticeably in the default mode network, which is normally active when you're daydreaming. So this is what's really fascinating about how music can help you become and be more not just creative, but open to new ideas and learning. This is why music is such a good way to help you learn things, because having music as a tool to, for example, put you in the right mood for the whole Mozart thing, Mozart baby music thing. There is something to it. There's all kinds of, you know, um, I guess you could say there's people that say, oh, that's not true and it doesn't really do anything. Um, it's true that it works, but it doesn't have to be Mozart. It can be any music. That's the truth. So it doesn't really matter whether it's Mozart or not. It can be any kind of music, but Mozart music, Bach music, Beethoven, whatever. But usually the kind of music that people want to play for their babies is like all this kind of pleasant sounding music, but it doesn't have to be. Babies don't know what's good or bad. They don't have like a they don't have that in there. They haven't been behaviorally modified or whatever. What's the right word? They haven't been trained or told what's good or bad or right or wrong. So they don't know. When they hear, the Jaws theme, they don't know that that's bad, that something evil's coming your way. It's just dun, 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 So, but what they're talking about here is that there's activity all over your brain, most notably in this part where daydreaming occurs, which is where the creative aspect of your brain is functioning at a very high level, right? This is where a lot of people find the answers to the problems they're trying to solve in dreams, when their brain is not necessarily just at rest. It's actually at its most active sometimes, right? So then she goes on and says it is also active when you're thinking about our own narrative. We also have activity in some visual areas that normally process when you see what you see in front of you. But all these participants had their eyes closed. So what might be happening is that participants are visualizing what was in front of them during the memory the song evoked. Okay, so you're getting a visual stimulus that's occurring not through your vision, but the part of your brain that actually has vision stored memories, kind of like a movie, right? And some of those things can be false memory too, by the way. It's really fascinating how creative our brain can be, right? I had some weird dreams last night. Anyway, yeah. So enhancing quality of life, another topic where they talk about how this study and these studies really help. In the second study, a separate group of 150 people of color were played different types of music over 12 weeks. Some weeks they heard nostalgic music. Other weeks they listened to familiar music that was not nostalgic. Participants were then asked to describe an autobiographical memory tied to the song or music. Again, the researchers assigned a vividness score to the participants' responses. What were the study's results? Well, to form the basis of the upcoming paper, it will help to reveal whether nostalgic music evokes a more vivid memory. Habibi says understanding why music provokes a response in reward in narrative systems of the brain could be used as a way of therapeutic intervention for adults with dementia, of course. So they're trying to prove this so they can use music as therapy in hospitals instead of just drugs. And so they can prove how important music can be to our life and our life's entire, our entire life's, I don't want to call it just our process of living, but throughout our entire development, using music is one of the most profound and most powerful ways of helping people understand and learn and connect and socialize and grow and create. All these things are so, strongly tied to music, and we should be using it more. It should be taught in school as a regular thing. That's the thing that I can't understand, how they took music out and a lot of the creative arts out of school because of funding. Well, I think they're missing the boat. And this is where I think why America has dropped down lower than a lot of other countries where they still use a lot of those things in school. And it's not like they don't totally. People do it, but it's not funded as well as it should be, not everywhere. And so you have that, divergence in certain areas where they do, like more liberal areas like the Bay Area. You're going to see more of it compared to some places that don't have the same kind of money or funding, or maybe interest in liberal arts. And I think the liberal arts are very important. I think art is a very strong argument for art giving people meaning and purpose in life outside of their day-to-day task in their job or whatever. So let's see what you guys are saying here. Hey, what's up, Robert? Yeah, conditioning. That's the word I was looking for. Behavioral conditioning, right? So Stephen goes on to say, hey, hi to everybody competing in the chess matches, listening to, oh, okay, cool, right on, man. Vivid memories for me, time and place, right? Yeah, music. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, daydreamer here, right? Serious daydreamers here. Worked as a problem solver. Wozniak was my hero in the 80s. And what a great mind that guy had, right? And he had a great attitude too. Still have my Apple II. Wow. Right on, man. Yeah. All right. And my AI assistant is listening to Laz and saying stuff. Oh, I'm curious what the AI has to say. And it's saying teach children 12-bar blues. There you go. I agree with that. By the way, I have my P.O. box down here because if you want to send me something, send it there and I'll demo it and I'll send it back to you. There have been in the past people sent me stuff to say, hey, Laz, it'd be cool to have you demo this and get it out in front of people, and then I'll send it back to them. It's kind of a fun thing to do. So if you have a pedal I don't have and you want me to demo it for people, and you don't have the setup to do it or whatever, which I'm still working on getting all hooked up. I have a lot of cool equipment here I still need to hook up. Check this out. Wow. Right. Some of my books there. Yeah, we're gonna have that stuff hooked up so we can do some proper demos for y'all. So getting near the, hey Alex, I sent you a link if you want to jump in at the end. Jump on in. Tell us what your thoughts are. What are your memories? So in the chat, you guys want to give me some thoughts about, like, what are some specific memories? Like if there's a particular song that comes on, what kind of memory does it elicit? Like, I just thought of one. Captain Fantastic. You know who Captain Fantastic is, you guys? So he had the song Crocodile Rock. I think now you guys know. Crocodile Rock takes me right back to when my mom was the brownie troop leader of our brownies group in, the Girl Scouts brownies. My sister was a brownie. We were Cub Scouts. And we had to do this thing. I don't know what it was that we had to do, a performance of something. And she chose that song, Crocodile Rock, and we all had to learn it and sing it. So I remember the words. This was like I was probably 7 or 8 years old. I remember when Rock was young. Me and Susie had so much fun. Holding hands and skipping stones. Something about something of my own. And then it was the Crocodile Rock song, Crocodile Rock. So that takes me right back to when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So great memories. That was a great time in life, right? Living in a small town right in the middle of the Bay Area in Brisbane, California. It's just in the heart of the city, but surrounded by the San Bruno Mountains. So it was like a small town, but right around it was like all the big city and the big town. Yeah, right, Martin. Yeah, well, I'm glad I taught my daughter the 12-bar blues. At least something done right. I think you're doing great. Marcel is a wonderful young man too, so you're doing a great job. Yeah, right on. All right, so we're probably going to end the show because I'm definitely 1 hour. That's my typical show length. I can end with a couple other things they say here. So connecting to sense of self. So they talk about how they continue to investigate the mind-music connection. Habibi, with researchers from USC Thornton and the Alzheimer Disease Research Center, recently received a National Endowment for the Arts Research Lab grant to investigate the effects of music engagement on hearing, communication, and psychological well-being in individuals or at risk for Alzheimer's disease, as well as their caregivers, right? And I think they need to even do more research on how important, especially particular critical periods in life and learning for children, how important it is that we bring music and this kind of stuff back into schools. We really need to argue the point to bring it back. So they say the analysis for the study investigating dementia in people of color continues and will be submitted for peer-reviewed publication in coming months. Currently, Dr. candidate Ellen Herschel, along with Hennessy and Habibi, are conducting a critical trial for a music intervention app for individuals experiencing dementia. So there you go. And Habibi says that for many dementia patients, the struggle of not remembering causes a lot of agitation, right? And also it causes them to just like close up and that's it, and just become zombies, which really is not cool. The app will play music for them that's not necessarily nostalgic, but will help support their emotional regulation when they struggle with not recalling a memory. And as he says that researchers hope that understanding how music evokes nostalgia and autobiographical memory in healthy young and older adults will allow future research to investigate how these findings could be applied to older adults with these neurodegenerative diseases. And keep in mind, using music to keep you motivated and moving and active is also another way. You get home from work and you're tired and you just want to sit down and watch a TV show. But if you put on, something else, some music or something that gets you moving, you might not want to just sit and watch TV, and you might want to get up and jump around and exercise or move about. And that's another way to use music to kind of motivate you to be active, especially after like a big meal or something. You get home, like, I don't want to go for a walk, but turn some music on and suddenly that will affect your behavior. So you can use music as a trigger to get your emotional state into a different place so that you can then take action that's going to be more positive in your life, right? Hey, you're right, dude. You don't have to thank me. The wedding dance. Okay. Yeah. The chicken dance just came to my mind and the wedding dances. Jailhouse Rock, the Blues Brothers version. Yeah. Right on. But Bailey Hall was prepared how much harder it would be to dance with my wife in the wedding dress. Well, we won't go into that. Oops, I meant to hit the applause, not clapping, but maybe you deserve some applause there, Martin. Yeah. So they go on to say that nostalgic music allows us to connect to our self or sense of self. Okay. This is important, you guys, because I think one of the things that slips away as we get older is, you start questioning did I do enough? Did I do a good enough job? Was I a good father? Was I a good mother? Was I a good enough, human, community activist? Do I matter in the greater scheme of things? Look out into the universe and it's so big and vast and, and it reminds you, music and its connection, how it connects you to others, and then your memories of your social interactions and community interactions, right? It reminds you that you made a difference. There were things that you did in life, and here's some memories, boom, to remind you that there was an importance in your existence, right? And they go on to say, because this sense of self is often diminished, right? When you go through these neurodegenerative diseases, the hope is that this type of tailored music intervention might be able to help patients, even if just for the duration of the song, experience a temporary return to self by engaging in these self-referential and biographical areas in the brain activated by this music. So isn't that fascinating how the memories don't come? You could see your family members and then they're coming in and going in the room, but you don't even know who they are. You don't know what's going on. And then you put on some music that that you used to play when you were raising them, and then all of a sudden you start talking about, yeah, I remember when we went to the park and we heard that song the first time. And I'll never forget, and like walking into the ice cream store with my mom, and I hear the horn section in the song by Chicago, "If you leave me now, you take away the biggest part of me." Remember that? Ooh, baby, please don't go. That song. Every time I hear that song, it takes me right back to that ice cream store and walking in there on a sunny, summer afternoon, me and my mom. And I don't know how old I was, but I was little. I was maybe 8 or 9, 7 or 8. And it just takes me back to the smell of the bubblegum ice cream I got, and the freshly made cones that they made there, and that little corner store, that little ice cream shop in Brisbane, California. It takes me right back to that. The sunlit room, as you walked in, there's the big windows and just the people around. And this was in the early 70s, and it was a magical time. And just the thought of that, just look at how it lights my smile up, right? Just the thought of that moment, man, it's like, dang, it's so cool how music, a song, will do that, right? Isn't that wonderful? So, yeah, it's not a slow rock and roll, half the dress dismantled during the dance. So now we're getting the picture blow by blow here. So we should have it we should have it somewhere on video. Maybe you want to ask Ava to see it. Okay, I definitely got to see that next time I'm there. And which hopefully, in a year or something like that, right? Guitar Summit again. Is it going to be Summit 4? Which one was the one that I went to? Was that second one? And then this one that you just went to was the third one, and now next year will be the fourth one. Guitar Summit, you guys, that's the place to be in Europe. Man, I want to go again. Anyway, so a lot of really good stuff in the description. You guys go check it out there. There's some links there, and do your own research too. Like some of you have been using AI here to check out some stuff. I think I even had some more links. I gotta see where they're at. Let me make sure I got all these links in there, because I have about 3 links that I wanted to. This from the psychology community. How do I get this? How do I share this? It's so funny how the internet works these days. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll try to put it in there later if it's not already there. And then I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. Listen to some nostalgic music, right? I wanted to show you guys the Chris Buck album, the new one, but this is also an album that I recently got. Still haven't opened it. New music by Ozzy that he did a little while back, right? Let's see, what is the date on this? 2022. So 3 years ago. This is the one, with Jeff Beck in it, Zakk Wylde on it, Tony Iommi, Eric Clapton. A lot of Zakk Wylde and Tony Iommi, and then Mike McCready also in there. Yeah, that was quite an album. I really like the music in that album's fantastic. So that's new, but based on old stuff in a way, right? So have a great weekend, you all. Thanks again for joining. Don't forget to share the channel. Like it, of course. Share it on your socials. Help me grow to 1,000. We're getting there. We're slowly. I have this feeling that once I break 1,000, it's gonna change everything. It's all good. Really enjoying the camaraderie here and just connecting with you all about music. And that's the thing, is that a lot of the music that Ozzy and Sabbath did is based on the blues, and Clapton, he could play some blues, right? But it worked out surprisingly well. Exactly, right? And that's why they say there's only 12 notes and there's nothing new to do. Come on, get creative out there. Don't give up so easy. Get out there and create some of your own music. Get together with friends. Like I always say, the secret to tone. And that's another thing that this guy, Robin Trower, was talking a lot about. Tone, baby. Tone is something you can create. You can create your own tone, tone is not just the sound of a guitar amp. It could be the tone in the sense of the feeling of what's going on, right? What's the tone in the room right now? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it this or that? Is it exciting? Is it what? What's the tone, right? Tone is not just a sound. It's more. so I say the secret of tone is in your mind, but the feel comes from your heart, right? So the secret of tone comes from what's going on up there, and you got to mix it with what's going on down here. In other words, the subjective and the concrete, right? You've got those two different dichotomies there going on, or mind trying to put everything in a box, but the feeling of, hey, let go and let it just be, put that together with musical instruments and some friends, whether you're just listening to music and dancing around or jumping around, or if you're actually getting creative and actually playing an instrument and learning, which can really light up your brain. Look at Dale. He's so excited, right? Thumbs up. Take care, you guys. Put that together and rock on. Until next time, thank you very much for joining the Music is Therapy show. See you next week, Thursday.